For the Vikings, open OTAs with a true quarterback competition, maybe the most interesting one in the NFL. Both Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy getting reps with the first team in practice. Remember, J.J. raised eyebrows last week when he said something about he and Kyler sitting on opposite sides of the room as if the pair was in high school. Yesterday, head coach Kevin O'Connell said he wasn't concerned about that.
Another's interpretation of those comments are going to be what they are. I would just say that in the room and the actual day-to-day, the dialogue between those guys, the interactions have been very professional, and even more so than that, it's just been a positive room. I didn't make a lot out of it. I know there was some reaction to it, and that's probably not the first time there's going to be a reaction to those guys kind of, answering questions about the situation, and that's what part of the competition is all about.
I suppose that's right. I suppose we are sort of setting ourselves up to parse every little thing that happens because it's a legitimate quarterback competition and an interesting one.
No question about it. And it doesn't have to be a friendly one. That's the thing. As long as you can be businesslike and all be focused on what is best for the Vikings, then the coach is going to be fine with whatever relation. I don't think they expected Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy to be like best friends instantly. In fact, the Vikings, talking to Vikings people throughout the offseason, one of the things they knew bringing in Kyler Murray or any veteran would do was make J.J. McCarthy uncomfortable. It was part of the point. They felt at the end of the last year that the comfortable version of J.J. McCarthy wasn't good enough, so maybe if you get him uncomfortable, you might do something, get the best out of it.
The concern that I've had raised here, Harry, and I'm interested from your perspective as a wide receiver, is that a true competition like this does have some potential to divide a locker room, particularly if there are guys who favor one side or the other, favor one guy over the other. If they see it one way and the coaches and the organization, for whatever reason, see it another way, is that something you'd be concerned about as we move this thing forward?
Most definitely, Greeny. I experienced that, not me personally, but while I was in the receiver room as a young guy at the University of Louisville. We had some receivers that wanted Stephon LaFleur as the quarterback. We had some guys who wanted Brian Brom as the quarterback, but our head coach did a great job of diffusing that, and guys just went out there and played when it was all said and done. But you had that little friction here and there. I think when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, here's what you don't want to happen. You don't want Justin Jefferson to have one of these seasons that he had last year. Yes, he had over 1,000 yards receiving. But at the same time, there's only been 2 years since he's been in the National Football League where he hasn't had 1,400 yards or more. 2023, he only played 10 games, so that's self-explanatory why that didn't happen. Last year, it was the deficiency at the quarterback position. You go through another one of those seasons, and you're talking about your star wide receiver eventually wanting to leave Minnesota. That's what you do not want as an organization.
I listened to Kevin O'Connell's comments, and to your point, I just think it's real. And even J.J. McCarthy's comments, I had no problem with. He was drafted there. They moved up in the first round to get him. Since he's been there, he has the expectation that I'm going to become the guy and the leader and the franchise quarterback. This offseason, that completely changed. Now I'm looking at Kyler Murray in the quarterback room. I don't want him there, and it's okay to feel that way. I'd rather this be my job in the organization, feel this way. And to Kevin O'Connell's point, this is just the beginning. At some point, they're going to have to split those reps up and have someone go first. When they do, reporters after practice are going to be asking one of those two guys. At some point, they have to name a starter. So it is what it is. And I don't think it divides the locker room because it'll be clear and obvious who the right guy is through competition.
Probably. And if it isn't, then maybe that's a different problem to have. Dan, help me if I'm overlooking one, but I can't. It used to be quarterback competitions, true quarterback competitions used to be pretty commonplace in a pre-salary cap era, at a time when the contracts and things like that didn't dictate how everything was going to fall. What's the last time we had, or how frequently have we had a good team, like a team that is thinking playoff thoughts, championship thoughts, which they have reason to be thinking in Minnesota, where we begin training camp and begin the preseason with a true competition for the starting job.
Yeah, it's tough to imagine, other than a situation where it's a high draft pick rookie that, it's almost like a fake competition because we know who's ultimately going to win it.
Going to get it. This one really is anybody's ballgame.
And that's what makes the circumstance unique is the Vikings 2 years ago win 14 games. They have high hopes. They want to be contenders again. They know if they get decent quarterback play that they will be. If J.J. McCarthy didn't want Kyler Murray to show up, he should have played better. And that's the message that the Vikings are sending, not just J.J. McCarthy, but also to Justin Jefferson and the veterans on that team. We are not okay with what happened last year. if JJ is going to be our quarterback this year, it will be because something has changed about him, and you'll all see it along with us. So that's where they're going into this training camp. We're thinking about a competition.
And super quickly, give me a date on the calendar by what you think you need to know. When do you need to know who the quarterback is going to be?
I want to say after the first preseason game, you want to have a great idea of who that guy is going to be.
All right, we'll find out. There's a true competition in Minnesota for a team thinking playoff thoughts. I don't think we get those all that often anymore. I mean, Parsons will be out of commission until at least mid-October. So, Dan, if someone were to say that injury will keep the Packers out of the playoffs, is that an overreaction?
I don't think it is, because they play in a brutally tough division. We expect the Lions to bounce back. I don't think the Bears are going anywhere. If the Vikings get quarterback figured out, we know they're formidable. And the defense just didn't function very well without Micah at the end of last year. They're installing a new defense with a new defensive coordinator. He's not going to really be up to speed on that right at the start of the season, especially if he's not able to play. So, yeah, I do think this is the kind of thing that could cost them a playoff spot.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I think the fact that Micah won't be out there, they were 0-5 last year when he got hurt. They haven't made any big additions this offseason because of the cap. They had to let some guys go on top of that. So you mentioned John Gannon as a new defensive coordinator. Not only does Micah Parsons has to learn that system and get the reps, we're also anticipating that if he comes back week 6, he's just going to go right back in to form of what he was last year before he got injured. There's a lot for them to have to figure out, to me, on the defensive side of the ball to still go out there and be contenders in the NFC.
So who's it on, Harry, to make sure this doesn't happen?
Hey, it's on the quarterback, Jordan Love. It's on play caller, Matt LaFleur. And I'm also going to challenge those pass catchers. When you look at Jaden Reed, you look at Christian Watson, and then also Matthew Golden and Tucker Kraft at the tight end position. Can those guys stay healthy enough to hold the fort down until Michael Parsons can get back? It's going to be extreme pressure already on that offensive unit. But without Michael Parsons, we know they struggle to sack the quarterback. I'm putting all that pressure on the offensive side of the football. Can you hold it down? Can you be better than third down than you were a year ago? And they were damn good. Can you pass the football effectively? Can you be better in the red zone? You're going to have to make all these plays because of what you don't have on the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, I think two notes worthy of mention. One is they were decimated by injury a year ago.
Sure were.
Second, I think it was you who said it in our meeting this morning. They could get better and still finish last in
that
their division.
Sure.
That division is that level of good. All right, let me get to the next overreaction. Out west, the Rams have put together like sort of the NFL's most recent version of a super team with the acquisition of Myles Garrett, and now they may get Aaron Donald back. Is it an overreaction to say the Rams are a lock to win the NFC?
Grady, we've known each other long enough. That, you say lock, I'm going to say overreaction.
Okay.
Like, nothing's a lock in the NFL. The Rams are going to be favored to win the Super Bowl, and they deserve to be when you look at their roster and how close they got last year. But their schedule is brutal in terms of travel. They have, I think, 7 primetime games. They got to go to Australia. They are going to get, obviously, everyone's best shot. Their quarterback is 38, got through last season healthy, but if Matthew Stafford were to suffer an injury, the backup is probably a rookie in Ty Simpson, who hasn't played in the NFL. So there's some stuff that could still go wrong that keeps me from saying lock. I understand why they'll be favored, but I have a couple of questions.
Right, they may be the favorites, and 15% is far from a lock. They also play a brutally tough division, right? When we did our FPI came out, 3 of the top 5 teams.
The Super Bowl champions are in their division. The Niners won 11, 12 games last year. Yeah, absolutely.
And were decimated by injury along the way. Who knows how long they would have kept on playing. What do you think of the Rams?
Everything Gras said is true, but it's June 5th. Like, I don't want to hear all this sane talk and all this. No, I just want to live in the fact that the Rams have Myles Garrett on their team, and Aaron Donald may come back. So I'm going to say, yes, they are a lock to go to the Super Bowl and represent the NFC, because I don't want to think about anything negative happen. I don't want to think about Matthew Stafford potentially getting hurt. I don't want to think about them going on the road in a tough schedule. Forget about all those things. We'll worry about that when September comes along. In June, we just want to hype the hell out of every football team.
Right.
And right now, I am rolling with the Los Angeles Rams.
Watching Myles Garrett tape is really, probably not if you're an offensive player, but boy, it's fun to watch, right?
5 sacks in that game. I was at that game. They lost. Yeah.
Harry, talk to me. The Rams. I mean, the addition of Myles Garrett, the possibility of the return of Aaron Donald, and it feels to me like that's going to happen. There's too many credible people suggesting it might, I think, for it not to be on the way. It's a super team. What do you think, Harry?
Greeny, the very first thing I said on my radio show, Freddie and Harry, when this trade went down, is that now the Los Angeles Rams, they have that closer for the first time since Aaron Donald. If you go back to that Super Bowl versus the Cincinnati Bengals, remember, Joe Burrow drops back, and he has a wide-open Jamar Chase, but Aaron Donald, being the freak of nature that he is, did not allow it to happen, and that's why the Los Angeles Rams won a Super Bowl. Now you fast forward to 2026, you go get a guy like Myles Garrett who can sack the quarterback frequently, who can close games for you as well. And oh, by the way, they aren't too shabby in the secondary now with Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, who come over from the Kansas City Chiefs and have won Super Bowls.
It's hard to imagine having a more productive offseason than the Rams have had.
Got to remember, they had a midseason acquisition in 21 of Von Miller, who has the most Defensive Player of the Year votes without ever winning it of any active player. That's the key. Like, not only do they shore up weaknesses, but Myles Garrett does a specific thing that helps make the difference in playoff games. And the Rams were this close to getting to the Super Bowl.
Let me get one more quickly in here, and that's another pass rusher, Max Crosby. If I said he had some comments this week about being happy where he is and all that, if I said he's going to finish his career a Raider, is that an overreaction?
I think it's an overreaction. I do think this is the next big name we talk about once the season gets going, if he's playing and showing himself to be healthy. He already got traded once this offseason, so we know it's something that they can do and that they would consider. So if the Raiders fall out of contention, if he's playing well and he's healthy, I know they're still getting calls from teams. They just don't have the price they want yet. If that price goes up, I think he could end up moving.
Harry, you think we see a trade involving Max Crosby?
Yeah, I think one team, they won the NFC North last year. It's the Chicago Bears. They have a tougher schedule in 2026, but if they have dreams and aspirations of getting further than they did a year ago, they're going to have to add more pieces on the defensive side, and particularly at pass rusher. They have Montez Sweat right now and Grady Jarrett at the defensive tackle position, but who else is going to rush the passer? They lost so much defensively, so I think at some point the Chicago Bears will be calling the Las Vegas Raiders to acquire Max Crosby.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, who doesn't? I think to Graz's point, this is something that takes place during the season. I think there are multiple contenders, the Bears being one. Look at the New England Patriots, the Philadelphia Eagles, teams that I think can use an extra pass rush depending upon how the